Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the University. Today, I have three fun cases plus a couple of little tidbits, and from the same individual, but it's not really about his case. He just kind of popped up in the court and wanted to stick around, so he made some comments. So I've included the little bits from him at the end of each of these three cases. Now, this first one is before Judge Meyer in Thurston County, Washington. We have Sutton Brown versus City of Olympia. Now, you'll hear the entire case, and then I have some pictures and emails from this case at the end of it. I hope you enjoy.
All right, so Mr. Brown, you're here for the City of Olympia. The City of Sutton Brown versus City of Olympia, cause number 37163. I've reviewed, there's been a number of submissions, and I've reviewed from the city. This involves, as far as I can tell, entrance into a parking lot in downtown Olympia, not far from the old school pizza. So Mr. Brown, and again, I've been through this with the filings. Mr. Brown, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony that you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
How is it that you need or are entitled to a judgment against the City of Olympia?
Your Honor, I don't know if you saw my evidence.
I've seen everything been submitted.
Pardon me?
I've seen everything
Okay.
filed.
Basically, Your Honor, the crux of my case is that the way the apron was constructed didn't meet the city's own standards, and the feature that is the curb that caused the damage to my car isn't shown in their standard driveway detail. And that was, I guess that's it. It wasn't engineered. They told me it was built per their standards, but it's not built per the standard reference on their own drawing.
Right. And then who's going to testify for the city? Mr. Johnstone, you're an engineer, is that correct?
Correct. That was the project manager for the project in question.
Okay, so I'm going to swear you in. You just heard what Mr. Brown said. I'll hear from you. Could you raise your right hand, please? And do you swear and affirm the information you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
What's your response to what I was just told by Mr. Brown?
Yeah, my response is that I feel that the project was built per the plans as designed by the project engineer. The driveway apron has adequate, greater width than what is required by our standard drawing. And Mr. Sutton, unfortunately, hit a stationary object.
Okay. And so what's the, pardon my lack of technical vocabulary, but what's the deal on this curb thing he's talking about? I'm not.
Yeah, so that curb was designed to be in that spot because there's an elevation difference between the new sidewalk that was constructed as part of the project and the existing parking lot. There's an elevation between the two surfaces. So we constructed a curb there to, provide separation and to make up that elevation grade.
Okay. And then is that part of the standard, for lack of a better term, practices of a project of that sort? How wide is it to get through that to where the curbs are on either side?
It's 13 feet wide.
Okay. And then I've heard you say, and I've read in the submissions there that the minimum is 11.
Correct. That's what's shown on the standard drawing that for that type of driveway apron.
So Mr. Brown, I keep calling want to call you Mr. Sutton, but I know your last name is Brown. So Mr. Brown, let's hear from you. I'll give you the last word on this.
Okay, Your Honor. I would like to add, I don't know if it's relevant, but I have 25 years of construction experience. I've been a superintendent. I run this type of work. If you have the detail handy, if you look at, it is page 19 of my My evidence. Let's see here, page 19. If you look at the detail, this is the detail that was referenced on the plans for construction of this apron. The apron is the overall width, the minimum of 11 feet that Mr. Johnstone is referencing is one panel of that apron. It's a minimum of 11 feet. They've made it 13, but the overall dimension here for that detail, if you do the math, it's 26 feet wide. You do the math there, that curb is encroaching into this detail. When you do a construction project, they reference a detail. I have this experience myself of what they want constructed.
Well, hang on just a second. I mean, just from a practical point of view, are you telling me then that the width is, people can't get in and out of there?
I'm saying
is it too narrow?
I'm saying they get in and out of there. If you look, Your Honor, if you look at this detail, if you look at the type 2 isometric view, you'll notice where the curb meets at the roadway, where the curb, it transitions from a full height curb, and you can see how long of a taper it has, a very gradual slope, and it meets the roadway.
Okay.
That is so when a car is turning into that radius,
right,
there's a very gradual transition because cars don't turn in right angles, they turn in a radius. You take that.
So this is an entrance into a parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I guess, again, this might be a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. But is it fair to say that people go in and out of that parking lot many, many, many times a day without hitting that curb?
Yes, but I would say that if you look at, let's see here, page 16 of my evidence, you can see the car pictured in that. I was parked, the car in this picture is where I was parked. You can see that curb right there. If you look on the parking lot side of that curb, you can see it's been hit many times and pretty hard. You can see chunks of concrete out of there. If that had been tapered like it is on the other side of their standard detail at the roadway, that wouldn't have happened. And when I backed out of there, I backed out, I could see the roadway, you see the clear opening, and thought I was clear. And
do you agree with Mr. Johnstone that the space between those two curbs, which I do have right in front of me right now, is 13 feet?
I don't know. I didn't confirm.
Okay, that's what he's telling me.
I would also say, Your Honor, that when there is no document that I've seen that shows any engineering or plan for this. If you look at page 33 of my evidence, the city does in fact have detail for an opening for a driveway apron that has a curb, incorporates a curb. And that curb is tapered. And the way that's configured would prevent you from hooking the bumper. If you see the curb depicted in this detail, for one, if you look at section A, the curb is no taller than the nominal grade of the sidewalk. So it doesn't exceed the height of the sidewalk. And the curb they do show is tapered into the parking lot. You look at type 1 isometric view, it tapers out to nothing. So there is no opportunity to have happen what happened.
So I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties. There's a number of maps and pictures. I've listened to the testimony presented by Mr. Johnstone, Mr. Brown. Based on the evidence presented, the city standard is no less than 11 feet. The opening, you hear terms of art like apron and slopes and things of that sort. But the long and the short of it is, again, as I said before, I'm not an engineer. I'm not an expert in this sort of stuff. But the standard is, as far as I can tell, is no less than 11 feet. The testimony is that the space between the curbs is 13 feet. Occasionally, people may have gone over that. Mr. Brown is correct that it does look like that curb has been chipped from time to time. But nonetheless, the standard is 11. The opening was 13. Just from practical experience, it seems, from my point of view, it seems like 13 feet would be sufficient. And I'm sorry that you went over the curb to cause some damage in your car. But I'm going to fine for the city, and then I'm not going to enter judgment in your favor, Mr. Brown. And you all are free to leave.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So this is the email that Mr. Brown sent to the city of Olympia regarding his car damage. This was sent Friday, September 2nd, 2022 at 3:23 p.m. It says, "Hello. This past Wednesday, my car was damaged as I was leaving the parking lot just north of Old School Pizzeria. The damage was caused by the integral curb of the new sidewalk recently poured on Franklin Street on the west side of the lot in question. The curb encroaches upon the width of the apron, making for an unusually narrow/non-typical opening on the lot side of the apron. After damaging my car and viewing the apron configuration, I drove around the city looking for any similar instances, but could find none. I assume the city has a standard for apron construction, but can't imagine this particular apron meets that standard. Maybe this was a construction error, or possibly a variant. It does look like the parking stall arrangement was modified from its original configuration. The old stalls were at a 45-degree angle to the sidewalk, while the new are square to the walk. At a 45-degree angle, the car parked in the stall on the south side of the apron would potentially be in conflict with the apron opening. Additionally, as you can see by the attached picture of the curb, it has been hit in this location multiple times. I am looking for the city to pay for the damages my car sustained due to the poor design of the curb in relation to the apron opening. I caught the driver's side of my front bumper as I was exiting the lot from the south side of the apron. Pictures attached. Initially, the bumper, quote, popped off, end quote, below the headlight, but I was able to pop it back together. But when compared with the passenger side of the car, you can see there has been damage. I would also like to request if you could please forward all city standards/details that would apply to the construction of aprons and sidewalks. Thank you for taking the time to read this email, and I look forward to hearing back from you. Sincerely, Sutton Brown." Picture 1 of Mr. Brown's car. Picture 2 of Mr. Brown's car. This is a photo of the curb and apron in question that Mr. Brown hit. This is the curb and apron in question prior to the construction that was done. These are two more of emails that were sent by Mr. Brown to Ms. Roberts of the city. The first was on May 16th, 2023. It says, "Ms. Roberts, before pursuing this matter further, I thought I would check in to see if you had heard back from the city's engineering supervisor and if their input may have changed WCIA's position on my claim. Sincerely, Sutton Brown." And then on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023, "Ms. Roberts, I can only assume that your lack of response indicates you have not changed your position on my claim. I will continue to pursue this issue in small claims court. You will receive no further contact from me regarding my claim, which might have been your goal. I must say that your lack of courtesy and professionalism in this matter has been unbelievable and ultimately detrimental to the city of Olympia. I can't imagine your actions or lack of action is in line with WCIA's standards. Sincerely, Sutton Brown." finally, we have Ms. Roberts' response to Mr. Brown on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. Dear Mr. Brown, I was not my intention to be unresponsive. I was out of town for the last week. At this time, you are correct. I have found no evidence that the apron was built incorrectly. The apron, curbing, and side slope tapers are well within the requirements. The curb is functioned in a pedestrian curb and was engineered for the purpose of safety. There is no evidence but matter of opinion to support your claim. At this time, the denial stands, and we will support the city through the small claims process. I appreciate your understanding, Mr. Brown. Sincerely, Rachel Roberts.
Thank you. What's your name, sir? Okay, so we have a number of people on that. You can be seated.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's all right. I just wanted to find out who you were because I'm going to go through here and take attendance.
Our second case is before Judge Middleton in Michigan. We have Suzanne Adams versus Joseph Kemp. Joseph was contracted to do some work in Suzanne's home, and she claims that his work did not pass inspection. So, hope you enjoy.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. Are you Joseph Kemp?
Yes, I am.
This is Judge Middleton. I'm at the courthouse. I could see you, but I couldn't hear you, and I can hear you now by telephone, so I'm gonna call this case.
Okay, I couldn't, I can see, well, it just flickers in and out, but I couldn't hear nothing either.
Where are you?
I'm in Bronson at a job site right now on Zoom.
All right, well, I would have had you come here. All right, this is file number 231845SC. It's entitled Suzanne Adams versus Joseph Kemp. And ask you both to raise your right hand. You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here, that's your left hand, will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I have,
All right, and you can affirm. Mr. Kemp, are you a member of the Amish community?
yes, I am.
All right, I know you don't like coming to court. You can put your hand down.
Okay. Yeah, I would have, but I talked to Kim and she said I can do it on Zoom. I said either way, whatever she prefers.
Well, we're not doing the greatest here, but all right. All right. Are you both ready to proceed?
Yes.
Yes,
All right, Miss Adams, you contend that Mr. Kemp owes you $2,575 for poorly executed construction projects at your property on River Heights Drive, including a garage door and some windows. You also provided a letter from Joe Wicke, the Lockport Township building official, who came out and made an inspection. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it your understanding from Mr. Wicke that no licenses were ever obtained by Mr. Kemp to do this work?
Yes, no permits.
No building permits. Mr. Kemp, are you a licensed residential building and alteration contractor?
I'm just a non-licensed subcontractor.
All right.
But Menards gave her my number, so she contacted me and I went out to do the work.
All right. So is it your contention that she was a subcontractor? You're a subcontractor of Menards?
No, I didn't word that right, not a subcontractor. I'm just a contractor that Menards gives my number out to individuals to have work done.
Well, I think they should stop doing that because you don't have a license to do this type of work. And you did a very poor job on this project, not complying with the code requirements required. According to Joe Wicke, the building official, the window in the bathroom was not tempered glass, needs to be tempered glass due to slip and fall risk. Window is single pane glass, must be double pane insulated glass. Window missing insulation around framing. garage door missing header to support roof load. That's about as fundamental as it gets. Correct permits are needed to be pulled for any repairs if made. So Miss Adams is gonna need to get some permits and get another contractor to come in and fix this. Her claim is that your shoddy workmanship and lack of license cost her $2,575. You don't have a license to do this, so she automatically wins. You need a license under the state of Michigan to be a residential alteration and building contractor. To be a builder, you need a different contract, but to do roofing, siding, carpentry projects like this, you need a license. And in order to sue, you need a license. And you didn't get a proper permit. I find for the plaintiff the amount of $2,575. And court costs are $83.50. You'll owe a total of $2,658 to Miss Adams that she can put towards trying to get this job done correctly.
Okay, let me write this down.
I'll mail it to you. Are you at Post Office Box 6173 still?
Yeah.
All right. I'll send you a copy of that judgment. Now, if you are working under somebody else's license as a subcontractor, that could be a different story. But let's assume you built a shed for somebody. You said you would do it for $10,000, $5,000 up front and $5,000 when completed. You complete the project and they refuse to pay you $5,000. You don't have standing to sue them for the $5,000. So I guess you're doing everything on a handshake, but you apparently don't do a very good job of complying with code requirements. And you never got the property permitted or inspected. So you owe her $2,658 within the next 30 days. Miss Adams, if he does not pay, you can pursue what's called a discovery subpoena, which will compel him to come to court and explain his ability to pay on the debt. This job did not go well for either one of you, but particularly for Miss Adams. Mr. Kemp, I don't know what to tell you. You've probably been a carpenter for a long time, probably going to continue to do it, but you need a license and you certainly have to do better than this. All right, Miss Adams, I will give you a copy of that order if you go into the office. Mr. Kemp, I will mail one to you at your post office box.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, he apparently thought that was funny, so I don't know. Anyway, I'll put you in the waiting room and just go out to the office. It'll take me a minute to have them clean this up and sign it. All right, thank you. He had a big laugh at the end. Apparently he thought it was funny. Well, the only thing I did is I put his phone number on there. I guess this will be sufficient. I found after trial the amount pled for.
Mr. Manaman, could you come up, take a seat there, please?
What's that thing?
What's that?
What's that thing?
That's just a microphone.
Oh,
And red means it's on.
fancy little stand for a microphone.
I got one too.
It's pretty cool.
And see, there's one there, and then
Yeah.
like when we have cases in here, there'll be a witness there. That's other microphone. So we're all mic'd up here. It's all, everything we're doing here is being recorded. That's what that is.
Wait, cool.
So she's going to be busy here for a minute. Mr. Haas, I've reviewed the case. Mr. Haas isn't here. This case will be dismissed without prejudice. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, chose not to be here. And so this
Yeah,
case
he
will be
didn't put
dismissed.
any evidence.
I get his non-appearance dictates dismissal. So you don't even need to say anything beyond that.
Thank you, sir.
Come on up, Mr. Manaman. You're free to go.
Thank you. Is it okay if I watch one of these?
You can stay as long as you can, I always say you're free to go, you're free to stay too. And then I follow that up, what people rarely do, but yes, of course you're free to stay. But just take a seat, but just go back into the,
Thank you.
to the court, and then, yeah, you can stay as long as you want.
Our final case for this video is back in front of Judge Meyer. We have Robert Coates versus Troy Auto Service. Mr. Coates says that he had a repair done by Troy Auto Service, and it wasn't a proper repair. It ended up resulting in more damage. So I hope you enjoy.
All right, so it looks like we have Mr. Coates
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
and Mr. Troy. Give me just a second here, call your case up.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I'll be back.
So this looks like a car repair.
Yes, sir.
And so Mr. Coates, give me just a second here. I want to say there was some video that I wasn't able to see. I don't think, because I watched it. Hang on just a minute.
That just reassures
Yeah.
the date I went in there.
Yeah, that was, okay, I did, yeah, sorry, okay. Anyway, Mr. Coates, could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You can put your hand down. And you're asking the judgment in the amount of $8,950.14.
Yes,
How
sir.
is it that it says John Troy of Troy Auto Service? Why are you entitled to a judgment in that amount of money?
Well, it said 3 times the amount. The Washington state law is 3 times the amount of what it costs to get fixed. And
What
plus
that's
it's
basis for saying,
yeah, no, it's without my vehicle for 3 months, and I had to pay tow fees and
okay, so again, tell me how you get to this judgment amount.
well, the Washington state law says 3 times the amount of what it costs to get fixed.
Okay, so
I'm just going by RCWs, Your Honor.
yeah, what RCW number?
What
And so
RCW?
someone's, okay, Mr. Coates, I need to hear
Yes,
from
sir.
you. You have someone off camera.
Yes.
And I don't want to hear from that person. I want to hear from you.
Yes.
And then you need to say cost to get it fixed. You need to get into that. What was the cost? Why is Mr. Troy responsible for you incurring any cost? I need to know all that.
Well, I don't know. That's just what the law said, sir. It says in Washington state, you're allowed 3 times the amount of what it costs to get fixed.
Okay, what RCW are you talking about?
I can't quote it right at the moment, sir.
Okay. So get it fixed. In order for me to put Mr. Troy on the hook for getting something fixed, I has to be shown that he's the one who damaged it. Like if someone hits your car, you're responsible.
He's the one that
But I'm not familiar with, let me finish, please. Let me finish, please. I'm not familiar with the legal concept you're talking about, just like 3 times the amount. You're gonna have to give me a little bit more information than that.
Okay, well, he's the one that put the clutch in it. You should have the paperwork there that says that.
Yeah, but
And then I had
I
to
need
take
you
it
to tell me the story of how all this came about.
I started it up and drove it down the road, And then the whole clutch fell out. And I was right down the street from his shop, so I had it towed there. The guy that put it in.
And what's your basis for damages in terms of, do you have receipts and all that sort of stuff?
I have my $1,900 receipt from the other mechanic and the $1,400 receipt from him, sir. And that's about, and all the tow bills and stuff was part of my insurance because I got AAA.
So I'm going to swear in Mr. Troy and hear from him. And again, I'll be frank with you, Mr. Coates. I still can't quite figure out what this is all about. Mr. Troy, could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Anything you wish to say at this time?
He brought it in, had the clutch done in 22, brought it back in, I think it was March of 22 is when we did it. Brought it back, I'd say April, May, sometime of 23. Said the clutch was bad. I was short staffed. I only had one guy. I was just hiring a second. Told him I'd get to it. It did sit here for a couple months. I don't dispute that. I've never disputed that. He showed up, picked it up, and I haven't heard from him since. Never called me and said, hey, this was an issue.
So you didn't, when it was sitting there, you never did any work on it?
Not the second time, no, sir. We did an initial clutch on it, yes. And I charged
All right.
I believe it was $1,400. He came back a little over a year later, said the clutch had blown up. And it sat here for, I want to say it was like 2 months. He came and picked it up, and I hadn't heard from him since.
All right.
Until they served me with the papers.
Got you. Mr. Coates, do you have a
Yes, sir.
response to that? I'll hear from you.
Yes, that's basically true. Yeah, the clutch was not put in right. The bolts were way too big for the clutch. I got the clutch right here if you want to, if you'd like to see it.
Honestly, I wouldn't know a clutch from a transmission.
Okay. No, it doesn't. Well, anyways, all the bolts are still in it. You can see the bolts still in the clutch. They're still in it. They won't come out. And they're supposed to be in it. and they're supposed to be longer too.
Did you get the clutch fixed now?
Yeah, I finally got enough money to go get it fixed. It was $1,900 to go get it fixed.
All right. So, Mr. Troy, I'll hear from you. Anything further?
No, like I said, we just hadn't got to looking at it. I told him I'd take a look at it. We were way behind at the time. I couldn't get to there. You know what I mean? I told him I'd look at it.
So, Mr. Coates, here's where I'm at with this. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And I know there's someone you're consulting with someone off camera there. But, anytime a plaintiff brings a lawsuit, you're the plaintiff, Mr. Troy Auto Service is the defendant. The plaintiff has a responsibility, and they have what's known as a burden of proof. And they have to prove by a certain standard that what you're claiming that you want a judgment for happened. And so I've heard from you, I've heard from Mr. Troy, and apparently he did some work on your car a while ago. And then you came back about a year later. He was going to take a look at it and never did. And then you took it someplace else to get it fixed. What's missing there is some evidence or proof that gets me satisfied that Mr. Troy is the one who caused the damage, which caused you to get it worked on a second time. A lot of times people establish that. And let me finish, please. I can't, like I told you, I'm not an expert on automotive and things like that sort. I can't just look at it and say, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. Of course he messed that up. I can't do that. And so a lot of times people don't understand that. A lot of times, sometimes people will get a mechanic in here and just say, here's why this happened. And then they'll explain to me why this happened. And that's, a form of expert testimony. But in the absence of all that, I can't really make a finding that Mr. Troy was responsible for, and I don't know anything about the car, whether it was an old car or whether it was, or what happened or anything like that. So I'm going to find that, again, with regard to the burden of proof, that you did not prevail on that. And I'm going to find in favor of Troy, and then this case will be dismissed.
Okay, thank you.
And you're
Thank
all
you,
free to
Your
leave the Zoom call.
Thank you.
He fucking went with the other.
And then you mute Mr. Coates. And you're free to leave the Zoom call, Mr. Coates. Yep. So Mr. Okay, you can stay, you can't comment. Okay, you can stay and watch, but this is not you're free to be here, but I don't want you commenting on anything that anybody says or does, because I know you don't want that. If your case had gone to trial, you wouldn't want people commenting on that. So just, yeah, leave it there.